Y'all ready?
Ready as gonna be, Chief.
Whatever happened to, am I my brother's keeper, huh? You know what happened to it.
It became my people's keeper. A moment of information, impartation, and inspiration to uplift, encourage, and most importantly, empower. So am I my brother's keeper? Yes. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes. Oh yes, I am my people's keeper. Hello, everybody. What's going on? We are here. We are back in the building. This is yours truly, Will Robinson, here with my lovely and beautiful, wonderful co-host, the queen of the house. Hallelujah, the chieftain of them all, my beautiful wife, PATRICE. What's going on, baby?
Hey, what's up? I'm Patrice Robinson, and I am so excited to be here again. Last time I think I didn't tell you this, but I am from a small town called Olar, South Carolina. Just want to put us on the map just a little bit. Small town. We don't even have a traffic light, but that's all good.
It's all good. It's about, if you're from this area, the PD area, it's about like Society Hill, if that. They got one matter of fact, probably a little smaller than Society Hill. So, but yeah, she's from down there in that big small city. And again, we met at Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. That's how I was able to find this beautiful woman. Yeah, but man, she almost was without a job today. Our daughter was on the last episode, and Jamel was about to fire. So.
Hey, that means I'm doing a good job. If she can come in and do what she's doing,
right. That's right. You're doing a wonderful job.
I'm doing a good job.
But shout out to 119 Media Group, definitely to all of the other definitely podcast family members. Shout out to all of them as well. But definitely want to get started with this third episode of What Are We Up Against? And we want to just go ahead and really get into it. This week's topic is sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking.
Yeah, sex trafficking. It's a topic that has been arising for the last couple of years or so. But definitely is something like all the other cases that we've been talking about, we've been dealing with. It's something that's probably been going on for quite some time. And so now it is actually being put out there into the ether waves and into the forefront of the media. And so there's still information and data that we're gathering concerning sex trafficking, and definitely what we are going to talk about today, information about what sex trafficking is, also some statistics across the nation, and then also some in the state. So we're able to kind of talk about that, but also talk about what can we do to kind of protect our children, not just our girls, but our boys as well. A lot of times when we talk about sex trafficking, or we talk about anything that goes with sexual abuse, a lot of times we focus mainly on the girls, but we also got to be mindful that there are boys and men are dealing with it as well. And so we're going to jump right into it, baby. I just want you to come on and definitely let's get into this topic about sex trafficking. It's one of the things that we've been kind of talking about.
Right. So as a people, we deal with so many issues. So this is week 3 of the podcast. So we started off talking about police brutality. Yeah. Then we talked about black on black crime. Yeah. Now we're here talking about sex trafficking. It just goes to show as a people, we are just faced with so many different challenges. It seems like as soon as we try to get over one hurdle, there's another hurdle. And it's just something that's constantly plaguing us as a people. We just have so many issues. So let's talk about sex trafficking. Human trafficking is a crime that forcefully exploits women, men, and children. According to the United Nations, human trafficking affects every country in the world, but it doesn't have enough talk. Like in the past few years, there have been talks and trainings on it, trying to bring awareness to this issue, but for a long time it has been pretty much swept under the rug. I remember going to a training. I'm a social social worker by profession.
I was about to say social worshiper.
By profession, and they have trained us to be aware of these issues, because even though, we have learned that this is a $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
And so because it deals with a lot of prostitution, they bring them to get checked.
Yeah.
So they tell us to look for signs. If you see a young man or a young woman that's coming to the office to get care, are they talking? Is someone talking for them? If someone, do it feel like they can't say anything, or can they be left alone? Like, we have to just pay attention to just those signs. But before we get there, let's talk about it. There are 11 things I want to share with you about sex trafficking. Trafficking involves transporting someone into a situation of exploitation. This includes forced labor, marriage, prostitution, and even organ removal. This kind of exploitation is known by a few names. Human trafficking is also known as trafficking a person, or modern day slavery. These are the names that are accepted by the United States Department of Health. It is estimated that internationally there are between 20 million to 40 million people in modern day slavery.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It is. Human trafficking is difficult because there are so many cases, but it's often undetected. So these things are happening, and we see that kids are missing, but we don't know why they're missing. Sometimes they are runaways, and those are the main targets, that they target runaways.
And even with what you're saying, even with the cases of them being missing, but they are actually functioning as if they're in a normal life. And what I mean by a normal life, just like you said earlier, you got people that bring them to the doctor. You got people that are in marriages through sex trafficking, and you're thinking that they're just a normal family, and it's just disguised, but it's actually they're being prostituted. They're in a situation that, you really don't know unless you really, are taking take consideration of the actions that need to be taken to see. So I think that's crazy. You gotta, even with the shows now, we've talked about some of the shows, Chicago PD, other shows that have been bringing light to it.
Right.
So even though we're watching it as entertainment, it's actually trying to show us signs to watch out for in order for us to see if it's happening around us.
I always say, though, even when we watch TV, we watch movies, we watch different little things, they're always showing us just a glimpse of what's really going on in the world, just trying to give us like a heads up, because the news only focus on particular issues or whatever, but that is their way of showing us,
insight.
Look, pay attention.
Yeah,
we're coming to entertain, but this is also a way to let you know this is what's happening in the world. All right, so it estimates suggest internationally about 0.4 survivors of human trafficking cases are identified. So all of these cases mainly go undetected. Like, nobody knows what's happening. Some people don't know they're even living in it. I'm thinking about the women that are being sex trafficked for prostitution or whatever, the ones that are forced in marriages. And so imagine having children. So do you think they make the children carry on the cycle?
It could be.
Or do you think they raise them to take over the business? Like, makes me think. I mean,
if you look at anything that pertains to, situations like this that are not what we may call morally right, you in order to keep it going, you got to breed it. And then so if you're going to breed it, you're going to make sure that whatever you're producing out of it actually take the lead to continue the cycle going on. I mean, that's just how the enemy works. Because, this is my people's keeper. I'm a pastor, so, we want to talk about it. So that's what the enemy does. He got to continue to find a way to breed this and harbor this thing that he's doing in order to continue to produce what it's producing. Now, we talking about just the portion of sexual exploitation. We're talking about, putting people in marriages, for the sake of sex.
We also talking about labor,
but now we're
jobs.
So that on top of that, we're talking about labor on top of that as well. And so when we start talking about those statistics and the labor trafficking statistics, you're talking about it's $50 billion in illegal profits per year. from just labor trafficking statistics. Forced labor in the private economy generates an estimate of $150 billion in illegal profits a year. The largest share of labor trafficking adults are domestic workers, 24%, followed by construction workers, 18%, manufacturing workers, 15%, are agriculture and fishing, 11% are sectors. Migrant workers and indigenous people are particularly vulnerable to forced labor. So when we see a lot of migrants working in certain areas.
Now I'm wondering, are they doing that job to provide for their family, or are they doing that job because they are forced, or are they doing that job to keep their family safe, or
Right.
like, why are they doing it? And we make a lot of jokes about them working for minimum wages and working for small amounts, but now you never understand what people are going to, what's their story or whatever.
Right.
This person, now it makes me, when I see situations, it makes definitely my antennas goes up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, should I intervene?
Right.
Let me say something. Let me mention something. Let me just ask, are you okay, or something?
So it's like it's all going hand in hand. So you just said, I don't know if they're working the labor to try to protect their family from if they're being sexually exploited or whatever the case may be. All of that plays a part in the role. And again, we see who are the ones that are really forced towards that. I said this before, and this is what I have to keep. It's not a human issue. It is a systematic issue. We start talking about all of the things that we're up against. Again, all black people are not bad or to what we're doing. All white people, all that kind of stuff. But it's a systematic issue that we're living in that continue to produce these type of issues and forces. Now watch what takes place. It is not until it happens to a certain sector of people then the attention begins to arise amongst this. I can't say it enough. As an African American, as a brother, and again, am I my sister's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper?
Yes, we are.
Am I my people's keeper? Yes, we are. So again, now the Attorney General of the state of South Carolina, Attorney Alan Wilson, for the last several years, has been bringing attention to creating a task force in order to help bring awareness and type of structure towards human trafficking in the state of South Carolina. Now watch this. Now we're talking about a national thing that's happening. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about here in South Carolina. Right. All right. And these are numbers that we have. The recent ones that I have is from 2019. Now watch this right here. On the statistics as relates to the areas that are actually dealing with cases from sex trafficking. So looking at this, all right, here we go. Okay, so here we go.
What you got?
Florence.
What you got?
We down here in the PD.
All right.
Down here in the PD talking. Watch what happened. Florence, you got.
Okay, so why are you doing that? Let me share this. Who are the victims of human trafficking? Worldwide, women and children suffer disproportionately from trafficking. Mm-hmm. Poverty, gender discrimination, mm-hmm. illiteracy, low levels of education, regional conflicts, and lack of job opportunities affect women in great numbers. Such conditions pressure women to migrate and make them particularly vulnerable to trafficking.
Now watch this. What you just gave just now mm-hmm. is going to focus on the areas in our state that we're in and the people that we're talking to. So human trafficking case opened in South Carolina.
In South Carolina, how many cases we have open?
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7 cases in South Carolina.
In South Carolina. Okay. Now watch this. In Aiken, South Carolina, mm-hmm. where I pastor at, 73.4% of cases are open.
That's a high percentage.
In Aiken alone. Florence, South Carolina, 7.8%. Richland County, 7.8%.
Okay, so these are broken down by counties. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Horry County, 4.7%. Greenville County, 3.1%. Jasper County, 1.6%. Lexington County, 1.6%.
Wow. Those are in Little South Carolina.
Little South Carolina.
We are battling with sex trafficking. But I'm looking at Aiken. Aiken County got 73% of cases open.
Yeah. I mean, that's not funny, but I'm just like.
But you know what? It makes sense because I think back to a few months ago, I was on social media and it was a lot of people sharing flyers of young girls that were missing. And I can assure you at least 3 of them was from Aiken, South Carolina.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so we look at this and we see that these children are being forced into this world. Now, they may have home issues. And some people believe or feel because home life is not the best life, let me try the street life.
Yeah.
And so thinking that if I get on the streets or whatever, it may be better or I might get introduced to something. But what I've realized, if it's too good to be true, then it possibly ain't good for you.
I'm trying to tell you.
So they get out there and some of these young ladies meet men who probably pretend to show them the world. Take them to dinner, take them shopping, give them something that they're not used to. And once they get them sucked up into that, then boom, they introduce them in this world. And because they feel no one has never taken care of me like this, then this is probably what I should be doing.
Right. So I present you with gold, or I present you with something that's going to draw your attention. Again, you're seeking for love, not understanding the dynamics of what's going on at the home. Again, we're talking about focused on who? People that are women. We're talking about children. We're talking about people that are in poverty. So you're talking about areas of people that they're dealing with. And you're talking about young girls and young boys that come from homes where parents are probably struggling, trying to take care of them. They're on the welfare. They're on the system. They're taking care not only of their kids, but they also got
the parents working multiple jobs, and so they're not home supervising like they're supposed to, or not giving the extra love that the child feel that they should need. So let's take this moment and let's empower a little bit. So I'm here to tell you, if you are that young girl that is struggling, or if you are that young girl that needs love, if you are that young girl that's in a house, or a guy or a boy that's in a house where you feel that you are being mistreated, that you feel like you are being abused, if you are in that situation, then we will suggest that if you're in school, let the guidance counselor know. If you attend the church, let your pastor know. If you are in any situation that you feel that your life is threatened, then you need to report that. Go to the local DSS office or whatever. Go and get the help that you need. But mind you, also, if you are a person in this situation where you're just in a home where your parents are struggling, meaning they are working multiple jobs to make sure you have clothes on your back and food on your table, then that's something different. So what we need you to do is reach out to local resources to help. There are a lot of job fairs, and there are also a lot of food pantries or places where that can assist you for those things. And so that will help you right there to let you know that there are resources out there, so you do not have to turn to the streets or turn to the pimp or turn to the drug dealer or turn to these things that end up leading you to sex trafficking or putting you in situations that you don't want to be involved.
And I know it doesn't feel good. I know it doesn't feel good to always, if your grandmother, your parents are telling you that you ain't going nowhere, you stand in this house. I would rather be, as the term would say, better safe than sorry.
Right.
And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that you are better safe than us being sorry that we didn't do what we were supposed to do in order to make sure that you were protected. And so even with parents, you have got to get into a point, those that are guardians, we've got to get into a point to where we start having hard discussions with our children, explaining to them why I'm saying no. It's not that it's a point about you don't supposed to be questioning me because you in my house. No, they need to know. How are they going to learn if they don't ask questions? It's about how you ask, absolutely. So you teach them how to ask when they do ask, if they ask out of error. But we have got to be better when it comes down to explaining to them why we're saying no.
Right.
I'm saying no because I know what it will do to you if you go out with a group of people and you don't know who they are. They're smoking, they're drinking, whatever the case may. It can lead to this. I'm not saying that everybody that's smoking, everybody drink are bad. I'm just saying that there's some things that oftentimes happens when there are individuals in a group setting that are smoking, that are drinking, that leads to other things that causes damage to people. And so even when we start talking about those things, you got to go into detail to talk about why we don't want you to do. Because again, we've got to protect our young girls. We've got to protect our young boys. And the state of South Carolina have been doing a great job. They have. I mean, with the statistics and the numbers, every time I turn around, Attorney Alan Wilson is on the news talking about what the new task force is doing. They got pending cases in the courts. As a matter of fact, they got some cases disposed in South Carolina, closed with federal charges. 35.3% have been closed through federal charges. Pled to lesser charges, 29.4%. Cases that were dismissed was 29.4%. Guilty pleas were 5.9%. And as it relates to pending cases in South Carolina, in Aiken, out of that 73%, there's 69.1%. In Richland County, there's 11.8%. These are pending cases. In Florence, South Carolina, there's 7.4%. In Greenville County, there's 2.9%. In Horry County, 2.9%. Lexington County, 2.9%. Greenwood County, 1.5%. Jasper County, 1.5%. Was Greenwood up there? That was just, you said that was just added in there?
Right. So I guess as they get information, they update.
More they update. And so we want to make sure that we bring awareness to this. And there are already individuals, like I said, state of South Carolina doing this, but there are also individuals and groups and organizations that are already putting things in place to help, focus on making sure that we protect our children, make sure that we do what we can to make sure that information is needed. And again, I say to you, as we continue to empower you as my people's keeper, to make sure that you keep your eyes open. Watch, as the Bible says, watch as well as pray. Yeah, we're going to pray all day, but we need to be watching. We need to be watching and we need to be locking.
Yes, we should always be alert. Let me give you this example. Matter of fact, I'm tell you this real story. So our children was walking home from school one day. They normally don't walk, but for whatever reason, we allowed them to walk home this particular day. And so they was like, Mom, there is someone who puts money under their rug, under their mat, the doormat. And I was like, what are you talking about? So they was like, come see. So I walked with them. So I literally see a neighbor with money under his doormat.
Like it literally placed
And
there.
so I'm like, why is this? And because who I am, and everybody, red flags always stand out to me. I said, oh no, something is not right with this. So I immediately came up with a game plan. You all would not walk to school. You all would not walk in this direction. Right. And when you go outside and play and you meet with other kids in the neighborhood, y'all are going to call and text each other before coming outside, because this right here don't make sense to me. Like, why would you do that? Because the first thought that came to my head is this individual is doing this to lure kids into his apartment. Right. And so I don't know if this person is a part of a sex trafficking ring. I don't know if this person is a sexual offender themselves. Yeah. I'm not sure what it is, but what I decided to do is I wasn't just going to stop there. I was going to report this behavior, because I don't know if it's something. What I realize, if we see something and it brings a red flag, we need to report it. It is okay if you report something and you be wrong about it, but I prefer to be safe than sorry. Right. So I reported this information where it needs to be reported. And so now when I walk past, there's no longer a mat at this person's door. And so I don't know if this was like a probation violation. Again, I don't know my neighbor. So I don't know their backstory. But what I do know, a sexual predator can be living next door to you and you don't know. Somebody can be in this sex trafficking ring that's living next door to you and you don't know it.
Right.
So if you see odd behavior, report it. You got to increase awareness.
Right.
When your kids go outside, I know sometimes that's a sigh of relief for you to have quiet time, but you might have to open the window and you might have to go outside with them, because you just don't know if you're being watched. You don't know if your kids are being targeted. Like, we don't know. So be on high alert. And then if you see something not necessarily going on with your child or your family member, but you see something going on with another child in the neighborhood, step in and intervene, because you might be the person that saved this person.
Better safe than sorry. And yes, I understand that there are people in this day and time that feel like don't nobody need to be telling me nothing about my children, don't be coming at me and all that kind of stuff. I'd rather you cuss me out
after I saved your child's life.
And we'll make up later. Even if we don't make up later, I'm glad to know that I can still see your child walking back and forth or going to and fro, back and forth home. So that's what we are trying to make sure that people understand. Do what's necessary in order to keep them safe.
Let me tell you about the characteristics of a trafficker.
Yep.
Traffickers will compel their victims to accept a job through various forms of deception, coercion, or physical force. Traffickers deprive their victims of the ability to consent and use physical force or psychological force, legal or economic coercion to trap their victims into doing things that they don't want to do.
Wow. And the others is, they'll be forced to live in sober conditions, living in the same place as they work. And these are just different ones as relates to just the human trafficking alone. Making sure that they won't be allowed to talk to anyone alone, like you was talking about earlier, without supervision. So you got to make sure you just keep your eyes open for, your surroundings and what people are dealing with. I don't believe that God has placed us in this world in order for us just to focus on us. All of us are here to help each other in some type of way. Again, we got to look out for each other. We got to make sure that we're paying attention in order to draw attention to what is going on, especially with human sex trafficking. And
we got to remember, it takes a village. So we have to go back to the foundation. It was the reason why grandma was home and auntie was there. It was somebody always in the neighborhood. My family tells me all the time, it's your generation who started this daycare mess, because we only allow family to keep y'all.
That's right.
And so I was like, well, I don't live close to family to keep my children, so we had to make an executive decision. But they was like, when you're having children, you just got to be mindful who keeps them, because you just never know. But it takes a village. So I remember going to school. My mom was at work, but my auntie was home. I got off to her house. I had an aunt that would help with her homework. I had an aunt that would help doing the nurturing and making sure we ate or whatever. So it took a village for us to be who we are. And sometimes we have to go back to that. So those parents who work multiple jobs and your kids are latchkey kids where they go home by themselves, set it up, because maybe that might be the same story for your next door neighbor, and y'all can collaborate together and come up with a plan that best suits both of you. Because one thing I've realized that, and I've learned this, the enemy plan does not change. He will still kill and destroy. But what we have to do is we can't change either. So we have to stay vigilant. We have to pray constantly, and we have to look out for each other, because that's the only way we'll be able to break these cycles from happening.
And go back to the root of it, like you just said, having it set up. Even though the reason why many of us, have not gone back to some of our local areas to live, because there are no opportunities there. There's no jobs there. And so definitely has put us in a situation to where we have to migrate to major cities in order to try to live a decent life. And so with living a decent life, sometimes it feels as if you are all alone and you don't have anybody. And because of how the world is and not being able to trust anybody, you do any and everything that you can in order to, try to keep, make sure you maintain what you're maintaining. But I think we got it. As we've been saying, we got to get back to that, and not understand that when we have those in the neighborhood to help, with that, it's not taking away the fact of you still being the parent. It's not taking away the fact that you still being the mom, you still being the dad. At the end of the day, I had both of my parents in my home, my mom and my dad. They both worked, all of that good stuff. But I still had people in the neighborhood that made sure that I didn't forget, what not to do. They made sure they monitored or keep. I walked home from, at the age of in first grade. So my son, we talk about that. I walked from my house. Come on, where Washington Street at? We was talking about the other day. Let me know you went to Washington Street Elementary School without letting me know you. So I walked from home, to school in the first grade, and so. But again, my aunt, she picked us up from school. Mm-hmm. We packed up in that car. We went down to either to grandma's house or either her house. It was always someplace designated for us to go to make sure that we still did our homework, make sure it was good until mom and dad them got off work to pick us up. It was just a system that was in place. And so we got to get back into creating a system in place within the system, because the system is trying to take it.
Go back to the village. Yeah. Go back to the village.
So that's why we want to just really let everybody know on tonight, to make sure we create the village. Go back to the village in order for us to be better safe than sorry. It's real out here.
It is. And also to keep in mind, the average age a teen enters the sex trade is between the ages of 12 and 14. 12 and 14.
My daughter, 13.
Yes. So keep that in mind. And many victims are runaway girls who were sexually abused as children. So let's deal with that issue as well.
So we're going to jump in that.
We're going to deal with that another day, but we're going to deal with this incest that be happening as well. Yeah, we got to do better, people. We got to do a whole lot better, because there's a reason behind the issue. There's a reason for the reason. And so we got to talk about these things. We got to call it out. Let's call it out.
Let's call it out so that people can be released, so people can be delivered, so people can be aware, mm-hmm. so people can begin to see and be vigilant in order for us to become better. That's right, my people. We're going to become better. We're going to do it now. Real talk coming after us. But my people, keeper, listen, we're going to push you to be better.
That's our whole purpose.
That's our whole purpose. Listen, always making sure that we provide information, inspiration, and impartation that will uplift and empower you. My brothers and my sisters, this is me, Willie Thrill, signing off with my lovely co-host, as always, PATRICE. We out, and we'll see you on the next go-round. As always, keep your head up, be safe, be blessed.
Am I my brother's keeper, huh? You know what happened to it.
It became my people's keeper. A moment of information, impartation, and inspiration to uplift, encourage, and most importantly, empower. So am I my brother's keeper? Yes. Am I my sister's keeper? Yes. Oh yes, I am my people's keeper. Yeah. Drop that bomb on it.